Hey comrades, so first off let me just say, yeah, I'm sorry I haven't uploaded any content recently or any podcasts or even any live streams in the last about like 5, 6 months. And that's just because my life has just been kind of crazy. I'm actually in the middle of getting ready to move if the boxes weren't a hint of that behind me. And I'm actually moving well out of state, out of Kansas. So this is a bit of a period of big changes in my life right now as it is. So that's been what's keeping me from producing any content. I'm hoping that once I get moved and settled in my new place, I'll be able to start making content again more regularly, but it's just kind of difficult to keep up with everything that's going on right now. Just things in my life are a little crazy. So I'm just trying to keep track of everything that is going on in my own life. And so, content creation, this takes time and effort. And this short video that I'm doing here, I'd like to put a little bit more effort in than this. So this is not what I'd like to usually do. But let's go ahead and talk about what I actually wanted to in this video, and that is this sort of stir on Twitter around DSA, and I don't like talking about Twitter drama in general, but it does actually have some relevance to actual politics, at least internal politics of DSA, and that is revolving around DSA's relationship with Democratic Centralist groups. Now, this all started when well, it kind of started a bit further back when Socialist Alternative, members of Socialist Alternative, including Seattle City Councilwoman Shama Sawant, announced they would be joining DSA and dual carding. Now, this caused a bit of a stir within it. I believe they are fielding a slate of delegates of their own for the convention, and have proposed a couple of resolutions, so that has gotten a lot of bad attention among many members of DSA. And it's led some to actually say that, and this started on Twitter recently, that some people, including specifically Shama Sawant, should be expelled from DSA under Article 1, Section 3 of DSA's bylaws. I need to double check and make sure that's correct. Yes, Article 1, Section 3. And then someone further went out on Twitter saying that the current NPC has failed to act up on this point. Would the candidates for the NPC apply Article 1, Section 3 to the specific case of Shama Sawant and other Socialist Alternative members? And this caused a bit of a firestorm on Twitter. So for those who don't know what Article 1, Section 3 of DSA's bylaws are, I'll link it in the description below, but I will also read it, and this deals with the reasons that members can be expelled from DSA, and it says, members can be expelled if they are found to be in substantial disagreement with the principles or policies of the organization, or if they consistently engage in undemocratic, disruptive behavior, or if they are under the discipline of any self-defined democratic centralist organization. Members facing expulsion must receive written notice of the charges against them and must be given the opportunity to be heard before the NPC or subcommittee thereof, appointed for the purpose of considering expulsion. So that's basically what it is. That's a lot of, bylaws, mumbo jumbo that most people probably don't care about. But I do kind of want to explain where this controversy comes from and what the answer really is here. Now, let me first just start off by saying I'm not a member of a Democratic Centralist organization. I'm only a member of DSA. I am not a supporter of removing this from the bylaws either. I actually think it is good and should be kept in there, and I'll explain why later on. But I think I should first just explain what this is all about. So the pretty clear goal of this is to prevent entryism from Democratic Centralist groups, and those are largely groups that follow the Leninist model. Democratic Centralism is an important component of Leninism, so this means Marxist-Leninist parties, Trotskyist parties, Maoist parties, anything like that. So if you're in one of those groups, you could be expelled from DSA under this. And this is mainly because Democratic Centralist groups, part of their model is they impose a line and discipline on their members that once an issue has been decided by the highest decision-making body, then that is considered binding on the membership. So deviation there is violating the line, and you're out of discipline and can be disciplined by the organization. That's basically what this is all about. And this has created problems with some groups in the past. The militant tendency in the British Labour Party is probably the most famous example. And I don't want to get too much into the history of it, but I actually did speak with some founding members of DSA, came from both DSOC and NOM, the two groups that joined to found DSA back in the 80s. And they actually had their own reasons for doing this that were separate from the issues going on in the Labour Party at the same time. It mainly had to do with their experiences around SDS and the entry of the Progressive Labour Party, Maoist group, and those who were members of NOM had issues with members of the Communist Workers' Party joining, and those who were in DSOC had, back in the days of the Socialist Party, issues with various Trotskyist groups joining the Socialist Party as well. So this was always something that was on their mind. And I can see why it would be a problem. If a Democratic Centralist group decides to enter en masse into another party, they tend to vote as a bloc. And that gives them a lot more leverage, and they tend, at least this is what most believe, is that their intent is ultimately to transform these parties from the inside and turn them into a party that is more like theirs. So I can see why that would concern a lot of people, myself included. I do not like entryism for that reason. However, I think that the calls that are being made about Socialist Alternative and Shama Sawant specifically are heavily misplaced. And I'll say why. People are calling for them to be expelled or for charges to be brought up against them for expulsion because Article 1, Section 3 says that you can't be a member of a Democratic Centralist organization and a member of DSA. Now, this is false. Again, I read the text of it to you earlier, and what it says is that members can be expelled if they are found to be under the discipline of a Democratic Centralist organization. And I skipped out a little bit in there. Now, the key word there is can. It doesn't say shall be expelled, will be expelled, or even just plainly that members of DSA cannot be members of a Democratic Centralist organization. Nowhere does it say that. It only says that this is grounds for expulsion, not that it entails automatic expulsion. This isn't like automatic excommunication in the Catholic Church. I am Catholic, but don't even try and get me to say the Latin in there because I failed Latin in high school. So this isn't like something like if you attack the Pope or try to appoint bishops without papal approval in the Catholic Church, that gets you automatically excommunicated. This is if you are found to be under the discipline and it is viewed as a justifiable reason to be expelled from the organization, then you can be expelled after charges are brought up and there's hearings and the disciplinary process is dealt with. It doesn't say that you will, and it doesn't say that you can't join DSA and be a member of a Democratic Centralist group. The reason that this is in here is that it gives the organization leverage and the ability to address problems of entryism when and if they occur. That's the whole idea behind this. It's not an outright ban. So people calling for Shama Sawant and Socialist Alternative to be expelled, well, I personally have a little issues with some of their joining DSA. The thing is, they haven't really caused any problems yet. So there isn't a justifiable reason to expel them. It's a question of can they, and if they can, should they? And yes, DSA can expel them, but should they? And I don't see a reason they should be expelled beyond being part of a Democratic Centralist organization. That in and of itself does not constitute grounds, in my opinion. And in order for the national organization to take action on this, they typically need to have more reason to want to, or to want to exercise their power in that manner. Because expelling members, especially a significant number of members, is always going to be a controversial thing within an organization. And as it stands now, unless a group is causing a problem, there is no justifiable reason to invoke that clause of the bylaws. Plain and simple. So for people calling for the expulsion of members of DSA or for charges to be brought up or whatever, I would just ask you to reconsider what the language actually says. It says can, not shall, not will, that they can be expelled. It gives DSA the power to expel members who are found to be under the discipline of a Democratic Centralist organization, but it doesn't say that they will. That's always the case with these types of things, and that's very specific language, and it's in there for a very specific reason. So I just wanted to make this quick video since the convention for DSA is coming up. This has been a talking point for many years. Me personally, I think it should remain in there. As I've explained, I think it is good that they have the ability to deal with the problem of entryism if and when it comes up and if and when it becomes a problem. However, as it stands now, it's not a problem. Socialist Alternative is a much smaller organization, and this organization is almost 100,000 members strong, so the odds that Socialist Alternative would have any real clout in turning this organization into a copy of SALT is mind-boggling. And by and large, I don't see any probability of that happening. There's a lot of other caucuses that would unite against what SALT's doing if they were to actually go forward and try and make this into it. They're just trying to advance their politics, I'll grant them that, but by and large, there are definitely similarities between DSA and SALT in terms of our politics, except on some more theoretical issues and some other questions around what socialism will look like and things like that. But in terms of our immediate praxis, there's not a whole lot of conflict. And in fact, the two organizations have worked together fairly well in the past. So I don't see much of a problem with this, and I don't see a reason for it to be removed, and I don't see a reason for it to be invoked either. So that's all I wanted to say. So sorry about the lack of content lately. This was just a little rambly video I decided I'd make. I'm gonna go back to making more content as soon as I possibly can. Things are just a little crazy right now. I gotta get moved out of here because I'm moving to the East Coast, and I gotta get out of here by the end of the month. So thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you can, please support me on Patreon, because with the move and everything, that support really helps right now. So thanks so much, and solidarity.